Hello everyone, I am SELİN TAŞTEKİN, an English language teacher for 13 years and currently teaching English to young learners at a public primary school in Sparta. Today I am going to present one of my studies, which is about the effects of digital games on refugee children's motivation and English language learning, vocabulary learning. Here is the idea of this study. The fourth graders at the age of 10 and 11 participated in that study. And the language level is A1. And here are listed some language objectives depicted by the ELT curriculum for fourth graders. And which go, students will be able to give and respond to simple instructions verbally, understand and follow simple instructions, recognize the time in a short oral text, talk about their daily routines, understand the general information in an oral text about likes and dislikes, and lastly, students will be able to recognize possessions of others in a clear, short, and slow oral text. As you know, Turkey has been hosting approximately 4 million refugees from many countries, like mostly Syria, and closely followed by Iraq, Afghanistan, and also home to more than 1.7 million child refugees. Luckily, to prevent those kids from being lost generation, the Ministry of National Education of Turkey ensures access to education for these refugee students, placing them at appropriate grade levels by their former educational backgrounds. Also, Turkish schools dispense some diplomas to those children after they graduated the school successfully. So far, so good. However, there is a great challenge for those kids while learning English as a foreign language in a host country. You know, they were already trying to acquire Turkish language, which is the medium of instruction and essential for their learning other school subjects such as math, social sciences, etc. And also they had to learn English as a foreign language in a host country while struggling with interference from their native languages such as Arabic, Farsi, Pashto, and Somali to the target language. And all these factors, as well as the adaptation problem to the new society, made those kids fail in learning English. And also they had low interest, low motivation for learning English, and low confidence during some English activities. As a result of this, children started to display some disruptive behaviors, such as wandering around, and disruptive talking, fighting, hitting, sometimes swearing in their mother tongue. Thank God I don't understand their languages that well. And to deal with those problems, as an alternative course of action, I decided to integrate digital games in my regular lessons more intensively. As far as I observed, students generally were more attentive when I put some digital games in my lessons compared to the other activities such as singing along with teacher or some puzzles or other tools that I benefit or I offer them. And I also sided with digital games because they are fun, they are interactive. If you prepare them based on educational purposes, they are educative and motivating, interesting, learner-centered, and most importantly, they present multimodal learning environments such as visual, audio, etc. And also, they are practical to prepare and to use. As for the aim of the study, I aim to investigate whether the use of digital games improves the students' vocabulary skills and increases their motivation for learning English. This study is significant in the sense that it would set a down-to-earth example in EFL context around the world as well as Turkey, and it would benefit the scarce literature regarding the students' English vocabulary learning and their motivation for learning English in a host country, in another country. And here are some related studies. One of them is conducted with Shirin and his colleagues, which is about digital game-based education for Syrian refugee children, Project HOPE. At the end of this study, they found out that the kids learned coding a great deal from these digital games, and also the level of the satisfaction was high. And another study conducted by John Cummings, which is assessing the impact of literacy learning games for Syrian refugee children, he found out that the kids build basic Arabic literacy skills, and also the digital games improved the psychosocial well-being of Syrian refugee children. And here is the methodology process. As you know, this is an action research. Therefore, I utilize one group pre-test and post-test design using mixed methods. As quantitative and qualitative data collection tools, I applied multiple choice vocabulary tests, including 20 items covering the language concepts depicted in the Unit 3, 4, and 5, and also a motivation scale, including 11 items with 3 subscales, which go interest and enjoyment, pressure and tension, and perceived competence. Also, I took field notes in the classroom observation checklist, and I applied those tools to 22 refugee students. And I analyzed the pre-test and post-test results of vocabulary test and motivation scale through pair sample t-test on the software SPSS, and I also analyzed the field notes through content analysis. And here are the participants and settings. The study conducted in Sparta in a primary school, and 10 male and 12 female students from Syria, Afghanistan, Somalia, Iran, and Iraq participated in that study, which they are 4th graders and age 9 or 10. And they were assigned in one class for intensified Turkish learning. After they had enough proficiency in that language, Turkish language, they will be placed in the other classes of 4th graders. And here is, as you can see, the chart showing demographic characteristic of the students. Out of 22 refugee students, 7 of them are Syrian students, 7 of them were Afghan students, 5 of them were Somali students, 2 of them Iranian students, and 1 of them was Iraqi student. And as you know, here is my process, research process. I first identified the problem, and I decided the course of action, which is integrating digital games in my regular lessons more intensively. And then I selected game applications which are practical and useful. Afterwards, I started to create the games on these applications. I also utilize ready-made digital games which are related to my lessons and my units presented on a software. After I checked the reliability of the test and found out that they are reliable and replicable, I applied pre-test for students' English vocabulary performances and motivation levels. And implementation period of digital games lasted 8 weeks in the first term of 2019-2020 academic year. And afterwards, I took field notes starting from week 6 until last week of the implementation period. Then, lastly, I applied the post-test for students' vocabulary performances and motivation levels. And here are some moments showing students enjoying the games while they were learning implicitly the basic vocabulary phrases and expressions. They also practice their speaking skills through some games, such as random wheel, as you can see here. The student just spin the wheel, and there popped up a question for them to answer, or a sentence needed to be completed by the student. These are also very practical. I recommend this application worked well. When I started to create some digital games on this application, I saw so many templates that a teacher could benefit from. And here is another application that I created, digital games. And students also liked these games very much because there were some funny beeping sounds and some icons that popped up when they lost a game or won a game. And I also benefit from those games while I am teaching them basic vocabulary regarding the ELT goals. And here are ready-made games presented by Team ELT Publishing on the software iTeam. They are all audible, and this way students also practice their listening skills by while activating their vocabulary sets. And sometimes students were split up in two groups like girls versus boys, or Team Saturday versus Team Sunday, and this way students competed against each other. Maybe it would sound a little bit different, however, in teams they actually felt being team spirit, and they felt being a part of community in these teams. And also, I set some ground rules for these games because, you know, I had some problems with management of this classroom. So I said that if you want to play those games, you have to be prepared for those games. And so you have to also just participate in other activities, such as singing along with me a song, or just looking at the flashcards that I presented to you. Or you have to be very careful while your teammate or your opponent team is playing a game. And if you pardon me. Also, you can tell some kind words after the game, like congratulations, it was a good game, and thank you, or can I help you? This kind of vocabularies. And this way, I ensured a good manner throughout the lessons. And of course, for the sake of the games, they follow these rules. However, after some time, they internalize those rules. And I really didn't need sometimes that remind of these games because they automatically remember all these and they know the process. They first have to watch a tutorial video or flashcards that I presented, and afterwards they started to play those games. And if they behave during the games, they will get many points to their team. For example, sometimes one of the students just say that we will start first, especially boys. And girls said, we will start first. So I just come up with an idea. I said that if boys tell that ladies first, then boys will gain 5 points to their team. And they just thought a little bit, say, deal. Okay, deal. And it was a win-win situation for these two groups, girls and boys. They all accepted that, and we went on our lesson. And this way, we also practiced some good manners, and also they helped me out with manage the class. And here is a short video which shows some moments of students during playing the games.
What time do you do your homework?
At 7 o'clock.
This game is their favorite game. Avoid them from an enemy and going to the right box after read this sentence. These are the rules. And after the implementation, I analyzed the research results. Here are paired sample t-test results for vocabulary test. When we look at the table, we see that the mean score of the pre-test is 48.18 and a mean score of the post-test is 17. Looking at the p-value, which is less than 0.05, it means that there is statistically significant difference in these two tests, which implies that this implementation helped my students learning vocabulary significantly. And here are another results for paired sample t-test results for my motivation scale. And when we look at the table again, we see that the mean score of this pre-test is 3.20, and the mean score of the post-test is 4.31. And when we look at the p-value, we see that it's less than 0.05, which means that there is, again, statistically significant difference between these two tests, which implies that this implementation also helped my students increase in their motivation for learning English significantly. And here are listed some field notes and my reflections. Nearly all of the students paid attention, actively participated, and eagerly volunteered during the activities. More than 2/3 of the students gave correct answers in the given games, and disruptive behaviors such as wandering around, disruptive talking, or fighting, or swearing, all decreased significantly, replaced with good manners, such as boys generally allowed girls start first in the competitions, in the games, as a gesture of deference. And the number of important words, I call them magic words, such as thank you, you're welcome, and congratulations, sorry, don't be sorry, it's okay, after the games increased. And they helped each other, especially in group competitions. And here are the conclusions. Based on the findings of the qualitative and quantitative data, I can tell that these digital games are effective at improving the refugee students' vocabulary skills, as well as increasing their motivation for learning English. And they also help them decrease the disruptive behaviors while enhancing the good manners, and also help the teacher manage the class effectively. They also helped refugee children show their potential in a more fun and secure way. Thanks to these games, they gained some points to their teams, and they felt being appreciated by their teammates, by their teacher, and also by gaining some points, they understand, actually, I can succeed. And this way, I improved, these digital games improved their confidence. And also gave them meaningful reason to learn English. You know, they are just kids. You can just tell them that English is a lingua franca and you have to learn it, it will benefit you. No, they won't understand. But if you say that, if you learn it very well, you will play these digital games perfectly. Then they will start to watch you. They will start to follow you. And they also enlivened the classroom environment, created a sense of community, and also they helped enhance the learner-teacher relationship. As recommendations to English teachers, I can tell that we should diversify our English language lessons with Web 2 tools, because, you know, they were born, all the kids now, born in digital era, and we call them digital natives. So we have to keep up with the new trends. And also, we should take into consideration the refugee students' background. You know, they are vulnerable, and we have to keep in mind that maybe one item, one game, or an icon can make them hurt, or maybe trigger some past traumas. So we have to keep in mind that their refugee background. And also, we should analyze the students' needs and interests along with the goals of the curriculum. So That's all, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to me.